Steve Thompson is a man who can't escape his past. When he returns home to be with his family again, he thinks he can pick up his life where he left off, returning to his past job and to how things used to be, until an old flame and the prospect of a dangerous yet rewarding heist manage to draw him in to a wild and unpredictable series of events as he becomes entangled with some very nasty people. Criss Cross from 1949 was an amazing crime film filled with romance, suspense, and shadowy noir goodness. This film was the top pick in my latest poll, and I'm glad it was because I loved watching this film. I'll give a quick summary of the movie, no spoilers, and then talk about why I think this film was so good. The story here is that the character Steve, played by Burt Lancaster, has returned to Los Angeles after having been away for a few years, and he moves back in to the family home with his parents and younger brother. He's able to get his old job back as a driver for an armored car service, and he also reunites with his ex-wife, Anna, played here by the lovely Yvonne DiCarlo. The problem, though, is that Anna now happens to be married to a very nasty crime boss named Slim Dundee, played here by Dan Duryea. And we can tell he suspects something is going on between the two of them. In fact, when it seems like Slim is about to confront Steve about this once and for all, Steve suggests on the spot a wild idea for a heist that will make them a ton of money. But Steve secretly has alternative plans, hoping to use this heist as a good old double cross, making enough money from it to escape with Anna together. But will it work? Oh wow, you're going to have to watch this one for yourself to see. There's a lot more I could say here, but the way this film unfolds, I wanted to keep the details to a minimum. This is one you need to see, especially for that shocking ending. So my thoughts on this one was that this was a film that really skewed my expectations. I've seen enough old crime heist films that, going into this knowing nothing about the film, I thought I could kind of predict how things would go. And nope, the curveballs that this movie throws at you are wonderful. And my predictions were completely off. And mixed in with this film are some genuinely rich Hitchcock-level sequences of suspense that just leave you on the edge of your seat, especially as you build up to that jaw-dropping ending. I'm not going to say anything more about it, just be prepared for a wild ride and a shocking ending to the film. Criss Cross was an excellent film. The story and the characters are complex, and the filmmaking top-notch, and it's a gorgeous film to watch. I had to stop the film repeatedly just to grab some screen captures. I enjoyed it that much. And I do that all the time if a film just visually grabs me like this one did. It was directed by legendary Robert Siodmak and produced by Mark Hellinger. And they had worked together on another amazing crime film, The Killers from 1946. And Hellinger has produced some brilliant noir. One that stands out to me personally is The Naked City from 1948 with all of that gorgeous location footage of New York City. My 3 fans of the channel know that I just love filming on location and when that shows up in old films. Well, some background here is that before the production of this film, Hellinger died in December of 1947. He had a massive heart attack from a life of hard work and apparently hard partying as well. Michael Crakey came in as the replacement producer. The cinematography was by Franz Planer, and it's very notable as I thought it really made you feel like you were there at these real locations. And as mentioned, there was a fair amount of location footage from around Los Angeles of the time. It's not just the novelty of seeing real locations in a film, but to me it just adds so much more believability and realism to what you're watching, And some of the things that stood out to me here, some of the beautifully framed sequences, like watch this particular scene as Steve is just watching Anna walk away. We also see some dramatic angles like this dizzying scene from above during the heist. And, I noticed a number of scenes in this film that would take place in a bar. It's one with actor Percy Helton as a soft-spoken bartender, and I couldn't help but think that it reminded me a little bit of Winnie the Pooh. And the bar scenes to me just felt so confining. I mean, just look at it. It's so compact. It's like you're inside the trailer of an 18-wheeler or something. It, to me, perfectly captured that feeling of the character Steve being stuck in this hopeless situation with seemingly no way out. Now, I mentioned the suspense of the film, and it is rich, especially any of the scenes involving Dan Duryea, who I'll get to shortly. But again, I don't want to give too much away about the suspense, but if you've seen the hospital scene, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Burt Lancaster was perfect in the lead role as this tortured character who wants so desperately to get back together with his lovely ex, who's willing to do just about anything to make some sort of fast money so he can steal her away, regardless of the danger involved. And even though he seems to get a perfect, foolproof scheme together, you're just wondering, can he really pull this off? And you're watching and, I don't think you ever really feel sure. But you want to believe in him so badly that he can do this and get away with it. Lancaster's character just seems so broken throughout the film without this woman that he loves so much. And he wants her back so badly. And there's just something about Yvonne de Carlo's femme fatale character that, you want to believe maybe she feels the same way. You want to think maybe she wants him back just as bad. But I don't know, there's just something shady about her you can't quite trust through the film. It's so well done. I really love their scenes together. And just watching them both, studying them to see if you can read their sincerity. And if ultimately the two can manage to pull off this heist and get away together. What was curious to me watching this film was how Lancaster with De Carlo reminded me of Lancaster's pairing with Ava Gardner in the film The Killers that I mentioned earlier. Apparently, Gardner was under contract at the time with MGM, and they wouldn't loan her out for this film, so instead, Yvonne de Carlo took the role. And I'll be honest, I have only until recently started to see her in other roles outside of, I'll be honest, Lily Munster from The Munsters show. So I'll admit that I've really been enchanted with her cinematic roles like this one, and I really do hope to check out some more of her films beyond this one. If you have some suggestions of other films that she has been in that are worth watching, please let me know in the comments. And Dan Duryea, who always seems to be playing the creep in these old movies, is absolutely menacing here. He is sharp, cold, and frankly terrifying as this abusive crime boss, who from the very beginning of the movie we can tell just hates Steve. They do not get along, but he is willing to put aside his differences for that sweet loot from the heist that they have planned. But how will he handle potentially being double-crossed? Well, I found his character to be legitimately terrifying as this inescapable evil presence. And one of the things I love in old noir is not just a good hero and a protagonist, but also that powerful and convincing evil character. And Dan Duryea nails it here. And another note is that Steve McNally also added a nice element to the story as the character of the police lieutenant, Pete Ramirez. And rather than just being the stereotypical cop out to bring down the bad guy and his sketchy associates, I thought he presented a methodical and sympathetic player to the story. Like maybe he believes in Steve and doesn't want to see him throw everything away. Yeah, it's nice to see the police investigator, kind of cast in a different light with a degree of humanity in a film like this. And I thought his part of the story helped heighten some of the suspense as well, knowing that he was sort of following along to see what this gang of hoodlums was up to. And I have to mention that brief appearance of Alan Napier as the character Finchley, the old mastermind who was plotting and planning this heist, focusing on all the details before retreating to the bottle. Alan Napier, oh, come on, it's Alfred from the Adam West Batman series. So it's great to see him here as the brains behind this caper. Anyhow, Criss Cross, if you haven't seen it, go on and watch this masterpiece. I really don't want to babble any more about it because I don't want to give away any more details than I need to about this amazing film. It was beautifully crafted, fantastic acting and rich character development, and a heck of a wild story that was nothing like I predicted would unfold. And that ending, wow. Honestly, this is some of the finest noir I've ever seen. And it's definitely a film worth checking out.